Okay. Hello. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you.
Lovely to have you here. So, this session is to begin to give people an idea about neuro change solutions, which is something that's been a really big part of my own journey. I first did neuro change solutions after I'd done a couple of Dr. Joe week-longs, but I did it at the beginning of 2023, not with yourself, but with another neuro change solutions consultant. And I just know that it just gave me a model that just pushed forward so much success of the Ixchel system. But also, I kind of, when I did it, I kind of, because in Ixchel, we work with embodiment, we work with bringing our intention into the body. I kind of felt, oh, but if only there was a bit of that with it as well. So that's why we've chosen to collaborate, because you've done level one, and Teresa, your wife, has done level one of get into your body. And also you can see that there is a kind of a place where the two can meet as well. So I would just love to hand over to you to really introduce yourself and your journey with Joe Dispenza. A lot of people in the Ixchel community know his work. A lot of people don't, right? So this is really for everyone within the Ixchel community. But this is the process we're talking about tonight is something that's really been part of driving the success of what we're doing. Yeah, so we want to share it with people. Nick, over to you.
Great. Okay, thank you very much, Victoria. I guess I better start at the beginning. So my name's Nick Andrews, and Victoria said, I did Ixchel number one, get into your body. I found that very useful on top of many, many, many other things I've done over the years, one of which being Joe Dispenza's work. So if I take a bit of a step back from that and just give a very, very brief background, I know we've got roughly what, half an hour, 45
Yeah,
minutes,
I mean, we
depending.
don't have a time constraint, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So my background has always been education. So as much as I hate to give away my age, I've been running development and training courses around the world for almost 40 years. And in 20 different countries with many thousands of people. Half of those years were with the public, the general public. So people from all walks of life in courses from 10 people to 200 people at a time. And in the last 15 years, most of the work I've done is in corporate world, um, culture change, communication, collaboration. And I also do this with the general public as something that I love to do on the side. And I really love to do it. And to this date, I have led 17 of these workshops, which can be done in a 2-day session or in a 3-day session. This one we're choosing to do in a 3-day session so we can integrate some of the Ixchel work. I've done it before with yoga teachers and meditation teachers where we've integrated it with yoga and meditation. So it works as a 2-day or as a 3-day and different variations. So stepping back from that, I stumbled across, I think is the best way of saying it. I stumbled across Dr. Joe Dispenza about 6 years ago when a friend of mine had a ticket to a 1-day event in London and she couldn't attend. She couldn't fly over to attend. And she said, do you want this ticket? And my immediate reaction was, why would I want this ticket? You know, what's this all about? I knew everything about everything. I'd done training and teaching and seen all the great teachers for many, many years. And it didn't even occur to me as a thing to do until I looked into it a bit more detail. Anyway, by the time I looked into it into more detail, I'd given the ticket to my wife. My wife went up to London. I decided to go with her. By the time she was going up, I got really a bit of FOMO going on. So I went up with her. And it was packed. It was packed. It was a 1-day event, and everybody who walked into that to sign up was excited and happy and smiling. And I was thinking, what on earth is going on here? And I sat and I said, can I get a ticket? Can I get in now? And they said, no. So I said, but all these name tags on the table, come on. Surely someone's not going to turn up. They said, well, we don't know. Sit over there, sit in reception and come and ask us at the break. So that's what I did. And at the break, I went over and I said, look, there's still some name tags. Can I come in? I went to the 1-day event. Like I said, I'd seen many people, I delivered many programs, and when I saw Dr. Joe Dispenza teaching, I was blown away,
Mm.
really blown away. And at the end of that first day, at that one day, he did a 45-minute meditation, and that was the beginning of a new chapter in life for me. Because at that time, life was great. And since doing Dr. Joe's work 6 years ago, life has become even more magical and mystical and wonderful. So I've managed and been privileged enough to do three of his advanced course week-long retreats. And then after the second one, which is a long story I'm going to not even get into, I ended up going to San Diego to get trained to lead this program. And when you get trained to lead this program, I was there with 40 other people from around the world. We spent 5 days with Dr. Joe teaching us to deliver his material, which was probably one of the most challenging and terrifying things I'd ever done in my teaching career, but it was wonderful. And at the end of it, I came away with the training. We had to go through rigorous training. We had to video ourselves delivering the workshop. We had to send the videos. We had the video corrections, and then we had to lead a 2-day workshop where we videoed the whole thing before we got approved. So it was pretty intense and wonderful at the same time. So that was 2020. Now we're 2024. 17 of these workshops later, here I am collaborating with really whoever is interested. Calls me, and I've got calls to do it in Indonesia and Malaysia, and I lead these in Denmark. It's just whoever wants it and where they want it. So that's a very quick speed background. So I guess what you probably want to know is, what do we do in the 3 days? Would that be the
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. What are we going to do? So there may be some people watching this who've done it before as well. So
Yes.
I'd also like you to address kind of why would you want to do it again if you've already done it? I mean, we know always revisiting things is different, but
Hmm.
that would be great as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a very good point. So if you've done it again, if you've done it before, sorry, I think I can point to two things. Repetition really does lead to mastery, if you like. I know my wife, Teresa, who I've been married to for 32 years. She's done it 5 times. I thought she was doing it just to keep me company after the after the third time, but she was saying she got so much value each time doing it. And she's done enormous amount of personal development. She's also done 3 week-long retreats. So the information and the knowledge that she got, it wasn't that it was new, it was just in a different environment. It was in a different environment. It reinforced a lot of the learning. And I think this ties in with, why would you do it for the first time? Because it gives you the tools to continue to practice and keep your intentions alive with the tools, with the technology, with the information, and in a community. So why would you do it more than once? Well, you just deepen the knowledge. Like I said, I've led way too many workshops to count, but I can honestly say there isn't one that I deliver where I don't get something for myself.
Yeah.
So, someone would say, isn't it boring just leading the same thing over and over and over and over? And no, it's not. It's never boring. It's always different. The people in front of me are always different. I always get something from what they share and what they say, and I walk away with new insights. And as we know, the first part of the 3 days is really asking yourself the question, who am I? Like, what is my personality made of? And our personality is made up of how we think, how we act, and how we feel. And how we think and how we act and how we feel gives us our personal reality. Now, I've said that once, but I'd need to hear that 20 times to actually make sense of it, because it's so simple. It's so straightforward. But the first time I heard it, I couldn't even say it back. What do you
Yeah.
mean? So we begin the 2 days with 3 days with the question, who am I? What is my personality? Because, we've all done personality tests and we've all got particular types and we understand ourselves and we know ourselves. But when you start to break it down, who we are is what we think, how we act, how we feel, which gives us a personal reality. So you can have two people looking at the same things, having different thoughts about those things, and experiencing a different outcome from looking at those things. We're all so unique and individual. And you
And can
can,
I
yeah,
interject something here? Because obviously we're talking about this with Ixchel. And of course, when I was sitting there and I'm going through that, I'm also looking at it. And because people watching this will be part of this community, looking at it that I'm always teaching who am I is also a product of our alignment and the bone. So in terms of what we're doing together, we're kind of coming in, people working with the get into your body methodology are working with an unconscious level of who they are because they don't have that necessarily aligned beautifully, and that's why they benefit. And then with you, what we're going to do is we're going to knit it into kind of the head mind space, but we'll also be coming in with the mechanics and how that's holding what you're talking about as well to connect the two.
great. Absolutely. Yeah. And thanks for because we've never done this before, keep interjecting with how this
Yeah,
fits in with
yeah.
with what you do. So, but if I go back to every program I lead, I get some new insight. And why would you do it more than once? Is because if who you are is how you think, how you act, and how you feel, then your thoughts become extremely, extremely important. And if you ever want to change, if you want to change, which we'll come on to in a minute, we've got to change the way we think, change the way we act, which changes the way we feel. Or we've got to change the way we feel, which changes the way we act, which changes the way we think. So if you're in an environment where people are being creative, offering ideas, sharing, and you're listening and you're observing your own thoughts, you'll have an insight. And we know insights are wonderful. Someone will say something where, oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's a new thought. That's how you start the process of change. Now, you can't change with just a new thought. You then got to take some actions with it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, fine, throw it away. If it does work, keep practicing it, practicing it. And then at the end of that, you'll have a certain experience. And then you'll have literally, you'll have a new personality, a new personal reality. So that's where we begin the 3 days, and we can link that with Ixchel and how that fits into the body and how that works that way. So
Can I
that's
ask
the
another
conversation.
question
Yeah,
to
yeah.
come in? So I was talking about, okay, there'll be people maybe who've done Dr. Joe's work. Now, in terms of if someone's watching this, listening to this, and they're going, yeah, but I don't even know who this Dispenza guy is. It's irrelevant to me. I'm not part of that club. Then how would you reach out to them? Because how does it work for people who've never been connected with any of Joe Dispenza's work?
I think you can answer that question as well as I can. Who is
Well,
Dr.
I
Joe
wanted
Dispenza, right?
just to say
Who's Dr. Joe Dispenza? He's a guy who was a chiropractor at the age of 24. He was a very fit triathlete. He had a major accident coming down a hill, was hit by a truck, and ended up in hospital with severe bone injuries to his back. Was told that he needed to have an iron bar put into his back to bind his backbone together, and he would probably spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. He was 24 years old. And his parents, his friends, everyone was saying, you got to do this. This is what the doctors are saying. And he was lying in bed in the hospital thinking, I just can't do this. I've got to find another way. And he tells the story. I can't tell his story, but the ultimate
yeah.
end to the story is bit by bit by bit by bit, by thought alone, he began to heal his body. And it got to a point where he could walk out a few weeks later without any intervention, without any operation. And he said to himself at the time, if I ever get out of this bed and I heal myself this way, I'm going to spend the rest of my life teaching other people how to do that. Which is really what he's doing, because a large part of the work that he does is about healing, whether it be spiritual, whether it be emotional, whether it be physical. We don't do that in the 3 days anywhere like to that degree, but that is the context. And you can heal yourself through thought alone, and you can heal yourself through Ixchel and through your body.
Yeah.
So so then fast forward to modern day, he runs advanced workshops, he runs 3-day workshops around the world. He has thousands of people in each one. And if you want to register for one, you pretty much have to register within the first 2 minutes. Otherwise, they're gone like they're
Yeah,
gone like Glastonbury tickets.
yeah,
And I'm so grateful that in 2018 he wasn't so famous. So I had almost a week to register for the
yeah.
first advanced workshop, but things aren't like that anymore.
And
And
I think what you said about healing is really important, because obviously people who come into the Ixchel community are coming in because of some health related experience, whether it's they want better health or they've had something in their health which has been really challenging. This is where, yeah, we're working with mindset, but we're bringing together. So with the Ixchel methodology, we're bringing people into the body, but especially I think as people move on in level 2 as well, where we start getting everything working together. So there's this new programming going on inside the body. And at this point, I believe the body and mind is absolutely ready, yeah, to go with incredible direction, which is what I believe in NCS. You're then given the manual, because of course there's 2 workbooks. I mean, you'll talk more about that, but you've then got, okay, everything, the body is orientated correctly, ready to put all of that in motion as well, which is my appeal of kind of
yeah,
experimenting with the 2 together.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, Absolutely, absolutely. And if you, it's called the 3 days is called change your mind, create new results. So if you're changing your mind, but also we're working with you and changing your body, then you've got a double effect, is the way I see it, which makes a huge difference. Okay, where am I? Step back a bit. The thing that was really, really new to me from all the work I'd done previously was uh, the type of meditation that Dr. Joe provides and makes available. I had meditated for about 7 years before doing Dr. Joe, but it was a very simple, straightforward, more like relaxing meditation. I did different types. I found it very relaxing. Um, but this was very different. It's very active meditation, and it really works at a much, 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 much deeper level. And understanding the science and the physiology and the chemistry and the biology behind meditation, what it does, it enabled me to create many, 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 many different avenues. Do you want me to go into some of the results I've produced? I don't.
Yeah, I mean, you could give a couple of examples. I'm aware of a time, so it's 20 past. We could go on
Yeah.
for about another 20 minutes, I reckon. So whatever you think is best to use that time for, basically.
I think probably if I reflect on it, look, I had some which I consider to be fairly serious um, conditions. One of which was tinnitus. Tinnitus, no one knows how you get it. No one knows how to heal it. Some people have it forever, and through the work of Dr. Joe, it disappeared for me. That was massive. Um, the other thing that was massively impacted was my overall health and energy. I was tired all the time, way too tired. Now I know I'm not getting any younger, but I still consider myself to be way too tired. I couldn't drive for more than 2 hours without stopping on the way to either have a nap or do a meditation, go for a walk. I couldn't do it. I'd fall asleep on the motorway if I did that. Now I can drive nonstop for 4 hours. So, and it's 6 years later. So there's those things. There's other things that I'm dealing with and I'm still dealing with. I've had certain amounts of arthritis which have improved a lot but haven't completely gone away. So this is not a magic cure for everything, like everybody should know and needs to know. I had serious back problems in the lower back, and that has disappeared. So there's some of the physical results and the health results, but more than that, I've had absolutely new relationship to what's possible is the only way I can describe it. And on the course, I'll go into much more detail about the kind of habits I've developed,
And I would
how
like
you
to
can
add
develop
into
those habits,
the,
what was in the
I'll
book.
just,
Yeah.
Nick, I just want to say, and when people look at Ixchel and its extraordinary growth, I would say that is also part of the unlimited possibility that we get from Dr. Joe and from, then applying stuff in the NCS. So the very success of Ixchel is an example of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to whiz through some of the content very quickly. The first and really in all my years of training, the most important question you can ask anybody who signs up for a self-development program, signs up for any program is, do you really want to change? And the way this course works is I don't coach anybody. I don't tell anybody what to do. I don't tell anybody, I don't give them my great ideas. It all comes from them. It all comes from the participants. What I will do is ask questions. Do you really want to change? And then you'll sit with that question. Do I really want to change? I don't know if you really want to change. You're the only one that can answer that question. You might not want to change. If you don't want to change, well, it's going to be pretty hard to get any value from the program. But in going through and reflecting on and sharing it and looking at and really assessing for yourself, you know what? I really do want to change, because until you really want to change, nothing's going to change. And when you change, everything changes. You know how much we want to change other people? There are certain people in our lives that we just want to change them. If only they'd change them, my life would be happier. Some miracles start to happen. When you change, people around you change. It's quite remarkable how that seems to work. But you change, people around you change. So that's the first question we get into. And we start to look at, okay, well, what's the benefit of not changing? Sounds crazy that there would be a benefit from not changing, but it's usually certainty, comfort. The thing the brain apparently hates the most is uncertainty. So the moment you say, I'm going to change, you're stepping into a new world. And at the same time of stepping into the new world, you've got all the uncertainty around it. And we get to a certain age where most of our habits and most of our actions are unconscious and we're not aware of them, and it keeps us safe and it keeps us secure and it does the job for us. And many people who have that ability to come on these types of courses, they have an okay life.
Mm-hmm.
They really have an okay life. So why would I want to change? It's a big question. So then we get into, okay, so you do want to change. Well, how do you change? Okay, great. I want to change. How do I change? Well, in order to change, you've got to think and be greater than your environment. What does that mean? All the people, all the places, all the things in your environment that keep you stuck where you are. You have the same responses to the same people. You have the same conversations with the same people, the same arguments, the same gossip, the same routine, and you have it differently. You have it differently with your family than your friends, and then you know exactly what you can say to who and when and how you can say it. So you're completely constrained. We are completely constrained by the environment in which we have around us. So in order to change that, we've got to be able to think greater than our environment and act greater than our environment. And we teach you how to do that. You look at yourself, how you could do that. It's not just friends and family, it's also work colleagues, it's the work that you do, it's the desk that you sit at, it's the iPhone that you play with, it's all of it. How our environment, to some degree, more and more and more is encroaching on our choices. To change, you got to think greater than your body, and that's a massive part of this course. It's a massive part of this course without Ixchel, and with Ixchel, it's going to double the value, because in order to change, we've got to be able to think greater than our body. I'm not going to go into great detail what that means, but simply said, the chemical continuity in our body comes from years and years and years and years of habits. A simple example would be someone who wants to get fit, someone who wants to start exercising, and they commit to it and they say, you know what, I'm going to start doing park runs. I'm going to do a 5K, but I haven't run for many, many years. So I'm going to start by running a couple of kilometers in the morning, and I'm going to get up because I'm busy. I'm going to get up and go for a run at 7 in the morning because I've got to go to work at 8 in the morning. So I'm going to set the alarm for 6:30 and I'm going to start running. And the alarm goes off at 6:30. And you're sitting there and your mind's going, oh, I got to go for a run now. And your body's saying, no, you're not, you're staying in bed. Now we can't hear our body talking, but we're all familiar with that. The body, no, you're kidding. It's raining. It's freezing out there. What do you mean? We'll do it tomorrow. Maybe next week we'll start that. That's how the body has taken over. It's a simple example. There's many, many, many more less obvious examples which you can delve into, you can inquire into, you can look for yourself, where the body has taken over and is running the mind. Such that a lot of the things we want to do, whether they be health-wise or any otherwise, the body is telling us no, and we can't even hear it speaking.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I have to come in here to say exactly that's why get into your body is called get into your body,
yes,
right? Because
yeah,
it's the unconscious alignments that are just keeping us stuck in the very kind of thing that's frustrating us in a way. Yeah.
yeah,
I just had
absolutely.
to interject that that's why
No, no,
it's called
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. So you got to be able to think great to change. You got to be able to think greater than your body and be greater than your body. And then the same with time. We've got to think greater than time. We're you know, there's always time. There's not enough time. I don't have the time. I'll never have the time. I'm too busy doing this. I'm too busy doing that. Well, we got to find a way to think greater than time and act greater than time. And that's another conversation that we have. Okay, next topic that we come on to is to see whether we're living in survival or creation. This can go as deep as you want it to go, because look, I'm still seeing where I live in survival. I do not. I mean, I haven't had an insight about 2 weeks ago. I'm still doing the same old, same old, same old in order to survive. What am I trying to survive? I already have survived. It's such a deep mechanism. So we deal with it, and you can go as deep as you want with it, but basically there's non-stop stresses in our life. You know, whether it's emotional stress, whether it's physical stress, or whether it's environmental stress. We're bombarded with stress in our life. And we come from a design where the design and the desire is the survival of our species. So everything is driven in order to survive. Our financial situation, being in relationships, making it, getting better, getting an education, it's all driven by survival. So being able to stop and tell the truth about what are the stresses in my life, some of which, when you look at it, you go, that's ludicrous. But you know stories of multi-millionaires who just want another million. What's that all about? So what's your version of that? Because X million isn't enough. I just want another million. Okay, this level of fitness isn't enough. I just want to get fitter. This amount of qualifications isn't enough. When I get the next qualification, then I'll really make it. So we have all these unconscious things going on, an enormous amount of stresses in our life, whether it be emotional, physical, like I said, or chemical. So we look at those, we take those apart, and we start to see, well, how can I change this? How can I think differently about these? What can I do? What practices can I put in place so these no longer become a stressor? And you can make enormous difference there, enormous, enormous, enormous difference. Not necessarily overnight, but over time, which is why we introduce the practices that we introduce in the 3 days. You'll get given at the end of it a mental rehearsal meditation. It's not a meditation as such, it's a mental rehearsal. We'll be giving you a 30-day challenge to practice that for 30 days. We'll be giving you a booklet to write down what are your experiences of doing that, so you can kind of take notes on it. Some people love doing that. Some people not so fond of doing that, but that's a choice you can make. And then we have a whole booklet that we give out with all the materials and all the information of the course, where you can take notes, keep notes, and remind yourself of the practices. I think I stepped forward a couple of things there. So any questions at this point? Any questions at this point for anyone who's listening? Wendy, Manuela, Karen, Anya, any questions at this point for anyone?
Yeah. How many people would you envisage, or do the courses generally?
20 people is generally the max. I can get an exception to go a bit higher. So it's very intimate. It's not like it's small groups, it's small group discussions, 20, maybe 25. And it can actually go as low as 8. I've led them with 8.
Okay.
I just had a question about, sorry, I don't know
Yes.
what it's, I can't see suddenly.
We can see you.
Okay. When you were describing, someone wanting to get fit, having this conversation with themselves in the morning about not getting up, is that the body or the mind? I mean, is that really the body rather than the mind trying to convince yourself about not wanting to get up, or why you shouldn't?
It's a good question. I would, rather than just try and answer that question, that's exactly the type of question you might ask in the 3 days. Because you'll see that for yourself. You'll start to look at yourself. Well, what's it? You'll start to observe your own behavior. What is going on when I'm doing that? What is going on in my mind, in my body? Is it my body? Is it my mind? When I'm walking, when I say I'm going to stop eating chocolate cake, I'm just not, I'm for a week, I'm not eating any chocolate cake. And then you find yourself slowly but surely walking over to the fridge to open the door, saying, no, I'm really not going to have any chocolate cake this week. I'm just not. I'm not having any this week. I don't know. I'm just not. I'm really not having any chocolate cake this week. Well, just a little bit of chocolate cake this week. Is that the mind? Is that the body? Well, my simple answer is it's the body, but it's probably a bit of both. It's probably a bit of both, but it's the body influencing the mind. It's the body talking to the mind, because the body loves the chemicals and the release of hormones that chocolate cake gives them.
And look, can I say my view on that as well, having done NCS and doing what I do? It's a lack of connection between the body and mind having an aligned relationship. Yeah, it's almost like the two are not working as a team. There's a total disconnect and a sense of powerlessness, actually, because the body isn't engaged with the mind and the mind isn't engaged with the body, which is where I believe the power of NCS and the power of Ixchel, because what we also do is we really supercharge the two, bonding their relationship. Does that make sense? That's my experience of it, Anya, as well. For my own experience, the more that we can nurture the two of them as one, that there is no separation, but with a real palpable understanding of how the relationship works as well. We're bringing that in, Nick. That's what I feel.
Yeah, it's very good, and it kind of reminds me of the whole business of mind over matter. There's nothing wrong with forcing yourself to do something through your mind alone, and pushing yourself and pushing yourself and pushing yourself to do something. Nothing wrong with that. But wouldn't it be more powerful if the body was coming along too? That's a whole other power there.
Yeah.
You're not having to force your body through those exercises or those meetings or that traffic.
when you've got that stuff sorted, and this to me is where the power of NCS really struck for me, because I was in a very good, I was like, I don't need NCS. I've just done, you know, I'm doing week longs, I'm successful, everything's going well. But someone said to me, you get yourself to that NCS meeting. My friend from Panama, she knew the person coming here to teach it in Brighton. And she was like, you get yourself in that room, madam. And so I went in, and what it actually did was it supercharged that relationship. So, you know, imagine when you've got that relationship already kind of functioning, and then you give it that 30 days, you give it the time in the room with you as a facilitator, and then you have that 30 days. Oh my goodness, the power of driving and creating with a combination of a body that's aligned and a mind with the intention, and the two working as a team, is to me like just so powerful. I mean, so powerful when you've got both aligned, you know, they're working together. That's why, from my perspective, I'm here doing this with you, because that's what I want for people. I know that's what I want for my trainee practitioners. I know that's what I want for, you know, people in my community, that once we get the body engaged and working correctly, it's like, right, now, what do you want to do with this? What do you want to create? Which is what, obviously, we work with unlimited possibility within the Dr. Joe community. So there are no limits, right, of what you can do then.
Great. Great. So I notice we're moving towards the end of the session. A couple of things I'm not going to go over, but we also talk about how our brain works. We look at the different parts of the brain. We look at, we demystify meditation. Like I said, in this course, we do mental rehearsal, not meditation. It's very similar. But of course, once you've done it, those of you who might be experienced meditators, you're going to do your own meditations anyway. Those of you for whom are unfamiliar with meditation, mental rehearsal is a very good starting point. And then we kind of bring it all together and give you the booklets. We give you the audios of the videos, because during the 3 days we show you, I think it's 7 or 8 Dr. Joe videos, him speaking for a maximum of between 5 and 7 minutes. He speaks, he goes through some of the material. So that's really, really great in itself. We send you the audios of those videos, and we send you the mental rehearsal for you to do. So plenty of material afterwards. And then we put in a couple of Zoom calls after 2 weeks, and then another one after 30 days. And then Victoria's going to add in a couple of Zoom calls herself. So you can work on the course that I deliver for 2 Zoom calls, and the part that Victoria delivers for 2 Zoom calls as well. So I think that's kind of a wrap. I hope we did it justice. Before we go though, there were a couple of short questions. Anyone else have a question that you'd really like to ask?
How much is it?
This one is 395. It's held in Brighton by Brighton Station in a hotel. Yeah.
Nick, I was just going to ask, because I actually met Victoria on the previous NCS in Brighton. What's your experience of people going through it a second time? Because for me, I really struggled to make anything stick the first time. I was really resistant. I'm really interested to see how I would actually approach it this time with less resistance. But I'm just wondering what your experience of people going through it more than once has been.
Yeah, I was talking earlier about my wife Teresa's done it 5 times, and it doesn't mean you need to do it 5 times. She just really got value every time she did it, and she's my wife, so she didn't have to pay, so it's all fine, right? But I know of other people who've done it a few times, and I think you, as I said, I don't think you were here then. I was talking earlier. The more you practice, the more it gets embedded, and the more your body and mind works as one. And I think I don't really know with your situation why you didn't, but I think I'd be more than happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you about it as well, because it might be something completely different. So I don't really know the answer to your question. I can't really answer it in 1 minute. I just know no, it is valuable for people to do it more than once. And if it didn't stick for you first time, I'd be more than happy to have a one-on-one about it.
Yeah, I have a long history of things not quite sticking, don't I, Victoria?
Yeah, but Wendy says that, but it's how Wendy and I met, and she's now one of my most experienced trainee practitioners within Ixchel. So it was the gateway to that. It was the gateway to you doing something incredible for your talk about. It's a perfect example of me saying when the body isn't aligned, it is very difficult for this stuff to stick. So now you've come in, you're nearing the end of your trainee practitioner training, so you're ready now. It will be very interesting now. Your body mechanically is more, it has a lot more engagement and integrity to see how you will go with this process, because potentially, and that is my point, I was sitting in a room in NCS observing certain people just almost face palming, thinking you're trying to get this into your head, but look at your body will not be able to let this stick. That's my point. And with Nick now, I'm so grateful because we're actually going to experiment with getting the body engaged enough, that the mind and the body can actually really achieve something with this. I mean, that's it, Nick, isn't it? That's what I said. That's, okay, this is an example. I sat in that NCS and I sat there, and my vision was one day we will teach this with Ixchel, because I believe that every practice of retraining the brain is also a practice of rewiring the body. And here we are. So here's the unlimited possibility of that happening, right? That's what we do.
Amazing.
Yeah. All right, so thank you, Nick, and we may do another introduction if people watch this on the recording, and you would like to come to a live introduction, or even somewhere where we just let people ask more questions, then we're really happy to do that. We've got plenty of time because the weekend it's the 8th, 9th and 10th of November, isn't it? We do ask, if you're interested and want to do it, do register. We'll get the I need to get the link out, but do register soon, because we'd love the commitment. We'd love to know what numbers we've got coming along. It's going to be a brilliant opportunity. I personally am so looking forward to it. It's really lovely to see some of you here this evening. And Nick, have you got anything you want to say before we finish?
No, thank you very much. I'm just really looking forward to it. And thank you for taking the time to be on the call. And thank you to those of you who are listening to the recording. And please do come along to another one to ask any questions. I think the next one won't be an intro because it will be a recording. So we can just set one up where people who have listened to the recording can just come and ask questions.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we'll do. Okay. Anything anyone else wants to say before we say goodbye?
And if we have some friends who we've thought of who might benefit as well, we can bring them to the next one.
Absolutely.
To the video call,
or to something like this, because I only just saw it today, and thinking, oh, that person might like this, someone else might like.
Yeah, absolutely, because obviously Nick and I are both local in Brighton as well, so if this is something that works, it's something we could do again. But so this really is our foot, we're putting our toe in to test interest and engagement in what people would like. Fantastic. I'll get a link out soon as well for registration. I'll get my team on that. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nick. I'm really, really happy we're doing this. And thank you, everyone, for being here. Anyone watching, let us know what you think. And we will all come together again very soon. Yeah.
Thanks, Victoria. Bye,
Have a great
everyone.
evening, everyone.